Welcome, Simon Baker, to The Perspective by Fouad Awan.
So how are you comfortable not having a salary? Real estate's always really been a commission-only role. I feel quite comfortable in that position. It gives me the urgency to go and work harder.
What trend in Dubai real estate is the most exciting right now?
Branded residences, they've increased in quality and obviously in quantity a huge amount. It really does matter on who's the developer, who's the brand behind it. What does that brand actually really add value to?
Hello, guys, once again with another episode of The Perspective by Fouad Awan. I was sitting with somebody and he told me that, do you want a overnight success formula? I said, why not? Everybody want it. So he said that especially when nobody want to believe on you, nobody want to trust on you, there's nobody to appreciate you, nobody to clap you, and nobody want to look as a superstar to you, and especially when the circumstances are not right. Do one thing and keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it till you get the breakthrough. And then the same people who don't appreciate you, they will say it's overnight success. So welcome again to the another episode of A Perspective by Fouad Awan. And today we're going to explore the timeless principle of success, the leadership, and the purposeful living inspired by the theory of the Napoleon Hill. The mission of our episode is very simple, straightforward, that we're gonna uncover the real stories within the region and the principles behind their success and help our coming generation that how they can apply into their own life journey. My today guest bringing a fascinating story of buildings and appreciating the dynamic lifestyle of the one of the most challenging city within the world. Welcome, Simon Baker, to The Perspective by Fouad Awan.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
So Simon is one of the co-founder of the company called a brokerage called Haus Haus. The company has become the trusted name in again the most competitive city when it's come to real estate. We need to know how he achieved that certain level when everybody want to be into a real estate. And today Simon will share his thought, his leadership, his mentorship, especially when he get grounded, when the times are not right, when the things are hard, because I believe everybody can stay happy when everything is good. But how you react when there's a thunderstorm in the sea. So welcome again.
Thank you for having me. No, it's nice to be here and good to have a chat. Looking forward to it.
And before continuing to my questions, I like thanks to my sponsor, FSK Partner. So FSK Partner is one of the few firms who come with the multidisciplinary engineering services within the region. They say that we direct, we design, and we deliver. So my first question to you, Simon. So as a beginning of your career from the UK as a salesperson, as far as I know, as a young age, and you moved to Dubai in 2005. And back there, you learn some lessons about the peoples and the profession and the resilience. So what are the things of a Simon of 2005 still keeping with him till now, 2026?
Wow. Okay. Well, good. Yeah. I moved here in 2005. I moved here with a very small amount of money, and a mission that I wanted to find something more exciting. I'd been living in a small place in the UK. It was called a countryside, working in different sales jobs. I really felt there must be a better opportunity, and I saw what was happening in Dubai, and I thought, look, this could be what an amazing opportunity. I wasn't working in property at the time. I moved into Dubai when I was 19 in 2005. Soon discovered at 19 that, you couldn't do little simple things like you couldn't rent a car here until you were 21.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the first challenges I found. And very quickly, so I've never been particularly good with money. So very quickly, I spent my money that I did have, and then I was presented with with the choice: do I go home and tell everyone that I'd failed, or do I stay and say no? And I guess that's probably just from being very stubborn and inherently to think that I'm not going home. I'm going to stay. I'm going to make sure that I make a success out of this. Um, and there wasn't really a plan B. People always say, "What's plan B?" There wasn't really a plan B. It was plan A version 1, 2, 3, or plan A version 27, but there wasn't really a plan B. So I was just being stubborn, really. And I thought, no, I'm going to do this and go and prove everyone wrong that said, oh, you shouldn't be going there, or why are you doing this, or why are you doing that. And I think a big part of success is going, going from that failure to failure with no lack of enthusiasm, as Winston Churchill once said. But so to be stubborn and to say no, we're going to do this, whatever happens. And certainly, obviously, in Dubai in the last 20 years, there has been a lot of challenges, more recently included. But and I think that's really, really important to long term success is the ability to put a smile on your face and to keep going.
So totally agree that be resilience, persistence, or stubborn in man ways, and from failure to failure, and then you have enough failures, you have a castle of success.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you first arrived in Dubai, like decades ago, the city, the property, and the market is look way different than today. So what did you see back then in Dubai, and you say, okay, this is the place where I'm gonna bet my future?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was probably a bit of a fish out of water to start with. I arrived here. I'd been from a very pretty place in the countryside where my family lived, very quiet place, and I landed in Abu Dhabi in the middle of the night on I think the 26th of June 2005, and drove from Abu Dhabi in a taxi. Came from Abu Dhabi to Dubai, and suddenly saw all these towers under construction. And it was, there was a lot of concrete everywhere. And I thought, wow, I felt really out of place. Um, and probably didn't really enjoy it so much for the first few months. It was a real shock to the system. It was very, very different. Dubai nowadays, you land here and you come through an amazing Terminal 3 with Emirates, and the experience is very 21st century. Whereas it certainly didn't feel like that 20 or 21 years ago. It felt like it was very much a developing country. There was lots going on construction wise. And even more than today. I think the famous statistic at that point in time were there were more cranes in Dubai than anywhere else in the world. So yeah, that was my start of my Dubai journey.
Yeah. And back then 20 years, still noisy city. It's happening.
It's happening, and it's still happening, isn't it? Which is really exciting. I mean, Dubai started when I came here. There was just over 1 million people here, I believe. There was the population. The exact number maybe goes up and down depending who you speak to. And then today, more recently, at the end of 2025, we had over 4 million people. So that's a very, very different place. It's evolved a huge amount. It's still evolving and still growing. And it's been a real privilege and honor to see the city grow so far, so fast and so far. And where they've come in 20 years has given a real lesson in urban development that probably nowhere else in the world has ever managed to achieve. So, which it's been really exciting to see that.
Wow. Wow. So my next question is like, being this 20 years, you've been navigated through a tough times, and there will be hard periods and the good periods. So what's keep you grounded in that business and humble?
I think naturally I'm a fairly humble person, but I do feel that when you have these challenges, suddenly it makes you realize that, okay, we're not invincible, we're not perfect. So what we have to do is revisit what we're good at, go back to basics, and certainly I've always been in sales. I've done sales ever since I was about 16 or 17 years of age. I very rarely ever had a salary, which has made me quite comfortable with being on the edge, if you like. And certainly people say, "Oh, how are you comfortable not having a salary?" Real estate's always really been a commission only role. I feel quite comfortable in that position. I feel like it gives me the urgency to go and work harder. And I think you've got two different personalities. Some people really struggle with the idea of not having the safety net. For me, the safety net always dulled me down a bit, and I think actually removing the safety net is where you get some fear factor, you get some excitement, and it's where the magic happens, right? Because there's no plan B, right? So you've only got to go with plan A.
I totally relate with my story is that when you go with the plan B and C and D, then only the things changes the plans, not your surroundings. So many young professionals think the success within this kind of market is all about the timing. Like if you come in certain era, so it is good, and now you in that year is not good. Do you think the timings matters, or the mindsets and the persistence and the disciplines matters?
I think timing is one of those things. I think, everyone's always asking when's the right time to buy shares or when's the right time to buy real estate or when's the right time to start my business. Unfortunately, if you wait for timing all the time, you might never do it, is the worry. Yeah, of course, maybe sometimes you need to be smart. It might not always be the right to do something today. Maybe it would be prudent to wait until you have more information or wait for the right set of circumstances. But unfortunately, with the timing thing, is if someone's always waiting for the perfect moment, life clearly, as it's proven to us in 20 years, is not perfect. There's always challenges. And the question is, how good are you at, navigating those problems? Someone once said to me, it's, don't wait for there not to be any waves, just learn how to surf, and you need to get good at dealing with problems. I think
Yes.
the better you get at dealing with things, the more you see it less as a negative, like less as an obstacle and more as an opportunity, because in everything there is always an opportunity. There's always something that you can do better. There's always a way you can improve. Um, and whether that means you do really well while that problem's going on, or at least you set yourself up for success so that once that, for example, current situation when we've seen lots of adversity in this part of the world over the last 20 years, everything from global financial crisis at the end of 2008. We've seen, the Arab Spring in 2012. We've seen COVID come along in 2020. We've seen floods a couple of years ago, and now we've got the current situation. All of these obstacles are an opportunity to train us to do a better job, to teach us a lesson, and maybe make us go back to basics and get really, really good again at doing what we're good at. And dealing with problems is life. In any business, or, any obstacle in life. Life throws you a curveball, and you have to get good at catching it and figuring out what to do with it. So, yeah.
Totally, totally, totally perfect. So, as they said, the water never get warmer if you jump later. You need to jump. So there is no right time. The time where you are standing, that is a perfect time. So you start where you are, how you are. So these are the lesson viewers which we get so far from the Simon, and he is quite energetic, and I can feel his frequency on top of the sky. And I think no matter what is going in your surroundings, but how your internal energy is, that's change your circumstances around you.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
Uh, to my next question, that Dubai real estate story closely tied to the city ambitions and the visions. For your vantage point, what is the Dubai uniqueness in terms of property market it compares to the our other property markets within the world?
I mean, I really like Dubai market, and it's not just the property market, but all of Dubai, because it's such a dynamic city and it's changing fast. And you meet lots of positive people who are, here to create opportunities and make change happen. I mean, obviously, real estate gets built very fast here. The city is, as I said, it's probably a real lesson in urban development. There's only one of the few places in the world where, there are in some years more off-plan properties being sold than there are ready properties, which is completely different to how you'd ever find in Europe. So there's certainly the pace of the city, the fact that it's constantly innovating, and that's come from the leadership. I feel quite fortunate. I don't think it's particularly hard. I feel like I'm very lucky. I feel like it's easy to run a business when you've got great visionary leadership who've got a huge target for the city in terms of population for the future, in terms of making it the best city in the world. It's pretty inspiring. So I feel like quite fortunate. We just have to latch onto that. And as if I can maintain my business growth in line with the growth of this amazing country that we now all call home, then I feel like I've got an opportunity where I just have to keep up. You mentioned earlier, we're all running, so we all keep running, and I feel like that's an amazing opportunity for young people who want to come here and start a business. I think certainly in Europe and lots of parts of the world, it's not as progressive. It's harder to start a new business. Um, you always feel like people are trying to tell you not to do things, whereas in Dubai, you meet a lot of people who tell you, hey, why not give it a go?
Yes, yeah, yeah, totally agree. So my next question is related to the same off plans and on plan, that you have been deeply involved in the off plans projects, and what excites you about this segment of the market, and what should investor understand before stepping into this part of the investment?
I mean, I think off plan's exciting because we are leading, we're at the forefront of real estate, leading what's being built in Dubai. What we sell off plan today will be the newest, greatest development that someone's going to be living in, 3 or 4 or 5 years' time. So I think that's the exciting bit, is that you're at the forefront of what's happening. I think, the way improvements in technology, improvements in construction, quality of finished product has got better and better and better quite fast in Dubai, certainly in the last 10 years. Um, and new developments are coming out with whole hosts of, new branded residences, but also new amenities, new facilities. You've got big government developers here literally creating the city. So the likes of Emaar have taken, big patches of what was effectively desert and created communities, integrated communities that are really perfect for lifestyle. I think this is part of the way Dubai's changed over the years. There are more and more end users living here. In 2008, it was a very investor speculatively driven market. People were here for a short time. They were here to buy and sell. Whereas nowadays, the reason the market's got more and more stable as it's matured is because people are here for the long run. They're here to grow a life and have children and have a family and create a life for themselves. So that's created a lot more stable market, and the market's quite matured a lot in the last 20 years. It changed an awful lot. I mean, you have to remember that the freehold real estate here was only announced at the end of 2002. So we're talking 23 years maybe of freehold real estate in Dubai. And if you look at how far they've come in that time, it's pretty amazing. It's inspiring, really.
Yeah. So moving from the off plans to other verticals, that the city is going to introduce, or they are introducing, new kind of communities, including their branded residences, mega projects. So what trend in Dubai real estate is the most exciting right now?
I mean, you mentioned we mentioned the branded residences. They've increased in quality and obviously in quantity a huge amount. So you've seen developers nowadays bringing everything from the very world's very best hotel brands. You're even seeing some car brands, sometimes maybe questionable as to which brand would be the best. I think when you're choosing, whether as an investor or an end user, choosing what brand really adds value to where you live. Some of the world's best, hospitality brands make these communities, whether it's a tower or a villa development, can make those projects even better to live in from a lifestyle perspective. So I think it really does matter on who's the developer, who's the brand behind it. What does that brand actually really add value to, as well? Because it's ultimately real estate's a long-term investment, and off-plan works because you're buying something that's going to be better than what's currently available in the current market. So the view is that you should be buying something that's going to offer a USP, going to offer a better level of quality, fit, finish, community aspect, all of these things, so that in the future that product will be the really highly desirable one that an end user, me or you, in the future might think, we really want to go and live there for a whole host of reasons.
Mhm. So, any particular project or developer do you think who really reshaped this Dubai real estate standards, or coming down the market or coming down the years, these projects gonna change another 180 degree to the market in term of the investment and the growth?
I think you've got two different segments there. I think you've got some really big master communities. So the likes of Emaar and the likes of Dubai Holding have created mega villa communities, townhouse communities. Developments such as Dubai Hills have really, I think, post-COVID, when everyone was looking for more green space and more of a light from a lifestyle perspective. That project launched in 2013, and we sold a lot of property there off plan originally. And then it's taken, I mean, these big developments probably take the best part of 10 years to really establish themselves, because it's one thing building some apartments and some townhouses and villas, but to create the community aspect, the shopping malls, the hospitals, the schools, all to make that development, from a landscaping perspective, to really make it turn in from what was probably originally a bit of a concrete jungle to a really green place that kids want to go and play in the park, and that creates from a family community perspective. And then on the other flip side of it, you have the really high end. There's lots of new developers come to the market in the last 10 years. I think the advantage with that is it's created more competition. Dubai is always, if for one thing, has ever been short of, is competition. Whether it's developers, real estate agents, businesses, the level of competition here makes people do a better job. Um, and with all these lots of new developers, there's been a mixture of developers from all over the world, lots coming from Europe, different hotel brands more recently, some really, really high-end hotel brands that have joined the market, linked obviously with different developers. And they're elevating the levels of the game, so that everyone has to do a better job. You either improve, you're either growing and you thrive, or you potentially die, right? So I think it's really important that that level of competition has made the Dubai market the place it is today. People are having to get better and better and better. And I think that's coming right from the top, right from the visionary leadership, of the UAE, to really push everyone to be better human beings, to be better at their jobs, to do it, to build a better city. And I think that constant demand for excellence is probably what's pushed everyone.
Wonderful, wonderful. It is what it is. Totally agree that if you stay there, you will be a history, and history is mystery.
Very good.
So, when you reflect to your journey as a young salesman in UK and building one in Dubai, a respective brokerage firm, what principles you gonna state it down? One, two, three. These are the key things which you like to carry and which you like to share with your colleagues and the teammates. That man, these are the things you need to do it.
I mean, I think when we originally set up House House, we set up the company in 2013. We wanted to build a real estate company for brokers. We wanted to build a platform for success. We wanted to build a platform for growth so that people had the opportunity. Sometimes it felt like you were right. If you were a broker, it felt like you're the broker or the company, and there wasn't much in between. I felt like we needed to build opportunity for people to have a proper career in real estate and actually grow and be able to expand their horizons within the company, certainly. Um, and then I think as a business, we always try to work to a set of values. From myself, James, and Luke, the three of us founded the company, and we've always worked ourselves to a set of values. We really care about looking after our customers, and we have a set of 5 values within the company that are very much in line with two things. One, as for the brokers to be able to be positive and proactive, for example, is one of our values. So I think that's really important. That's my favorite value of the
Positive
5.
and proactive.
Positive and proactive. And that's in everything you do. So not only, in terms of getting to the office early in the morning and, doing all the basics you have to do. Some things, there's always parts of a job no one likes to do, but it's really important that you get those done every day to make sure that you've built the foundation for success, if you like. To really obsess over our customers is the 5th value, is to really make sure that if I do the right thing by my customer, whether I'm an individual broker or as a company, then we will be here for the long term, where we can be trusted real estate advisors to people and make sure that, not just the business can thrive, but to make sure that, we're really looking after people. So if whether it was my mother or my brother buying a bit of real estate in Dubai, I would want them to be treated as if it was your money, and really to make decisions based on what's best for the customer rather than just what's best for you as an individual.
Totally understood. So, do you think that sales, because people takes there's two kind of concept in the sales. Some people like that he's a salesman, and people get pushy and like, oh man, he's hunting me and running after me. Or sales is all about adding value, is a long term delivery, or is something are developing a relationship. What is your like sales formulas, like mantras or the key points?
I mean, I think we're quite fortunate. I think we're, as an independent brokerage, we're in a position where we can sell everything in the whole of Dubai. We can work with the very best developers. So my theory is, why would you sell someone something that's subpar or that's not as good when I can sell them something that's really decent quality investment? I would work to the basis that I will only really work on a project that I would sell myself. So if I look at it quite objectively and say, would I buy one of these if my requirement was X, Y, Z? And if the answer is no, then we wouldn't offer it to our customers. I don't see why I should use my 20 years of experience to sell you something that I wouldn't buy, when there is a lot of really, really good real estate here that's good for the right reasons, but based on the developer, based on the location, based on the quality, based on the pricing, of course, and the payment terms. And we analyze all of that and then try and only offer the projects that we would buy ourselves to our customers. selfishly, if you know, from my perspective, if I would sell you something that's subpar, that's not as good, that it would lose you money, you're not going to be my customer for very long, and selfishly, I will lose that recurring revenue in the future. So if you want a long-term career, certainly in the Dubai real estate market, probably in any real estate market in the world, it's essential to look after people, because we work on a very much a referral business on a referral basis. And if I really look after you, you're going to go and tell a few of your friends, oh, Simon's done a great job, or this XYZ broker really looked after me. And that person's business will get easier and easier and easier. So looking after someone isn't necessarily purely selfless. It's a little bit selfish as well, because we need to be here in 20 years' time. We're going to be here in 20 years' time. And we need to do a good job in order to do that.
Wonderful approach. Anything to your 20 years old Simon?
And into my 20-year-old Simon. I mean, sometimes I think we can all doubt ourselves. I think sometimes you want to, I wouldn't say to be stupid, but sometimes be more bold, to back yourself a bit more, to trust your instincts. I think maybe would be some good advice. Yeah.
Like, if you take that risk much earlier, is much better.
Yeah, I think I think again, you want to consider the risks, but waiting for perfect timing for everything, isn't necessarily going to help you. Sometimes you need to be bold. You need to go and make decisions, and then from there, not be afraid to make decisions quickly. I think it's important. Sometimes I could be accused of maybe procrastinating things a bit. You don't make a decision because it's difficult to make that decision, or because you're not sure. But I think sometimes to go with your gut, and you have to, move fast and, make decisions. And then if it isn't, it's not always the right one. It might be a setback, but in which case you better to always be moving forward rather than to sit still and be scared of making that decision.
Wow. So far, viewers, we get a very wonderful principle from Simon. So moving to the end of our episode, so there's a kind of a rapid fire round. So a book that shaped your thinking about success.
Books. Well, I'm not very good at reading books, but the one book I read when I was about 15, I think, was Richard Branson's autobiography. Losing My Virginity, it was called. It was a bit of a rude name, but he was, and he had a very amazing story from when he was at boarding school and started his first magazine. And and everyone say to you, "Oh, you can't do this," and he ended up with a mantra in Virgin, which was "Screw it, let's do it," and everyone can tell you there's 100 reasons not to do something, but there might be one very good reason to do something.
I love that man. I love that man. The way he make his Virgin airline, and it's like out of the world, man. It's still. So, any best advice you ever received from someone?
Oh, the best advice. I think you just need to be, you need to be bold. You need to give it a go. You need to not be afraid to try something new. And if you do fail, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you go again. So I think that.
If you don't ask it, the answer is always no.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So that's that for sure. You don't want to be too shy to give things a go.
Yeah. So, any leadership trails when you saw someone that these qualities make him something?
I think the best leaders I've ever seen, certainly, and what I probably try and emulate, is to go and inspire people, whether it's directly your team that you work under you, or within the company, or whoever it is. If you can inspire people to be better every day, to do the work that they don't want to do, and I think inspiration is amazing, and I think we need more of it in the world.
Okay. What is the biggest myth about success?
Biggest myth? Probably that it's easy. Or it can come overnight. I think most overnight success has 10 years of history behind it. And people don't want to know about the difficult bit. They just want to talk. They just want to talk about when it finally happens. I think in a world of social media, I think it's very easy for people to look at get rich quick schemes, and and sometimes it does happen. I think the problem with it happening too easy is that people don't build the character they need to continue
To
it.
continue
I
it,
think that
it's
it's
quite
quite character building to have a tough time. Um, you know, I don't, I think there was some expression I heard which was something along the lines of, you know, I've never met a person who had an easy life that had a good character. And I think there's something about that. You know, you need a few wrinkles and a bit of yeah.
The time and passion is privilege, and they have with there you're gonna get a good character.
Yeah, and I think that overnight success, yeah, does occasionally happen. But for most people that you've seen be very successful, they've usually got a good story of 10 years of hard work before that, or maybe more.
One word if you define your journey so far.
My journey so far, well, it's been sort of emotional roller coaster, I would say. We've certainly had some challenges, but I wouldn't have it any other way because I think that makes you it makes you tougher. It makes you better at coming back from bad situations. It makes you builds the character that you need to be able to navigate things and navigate setbacks. So yeah.
So one thing like the people who are around me, they always say that Fawad, your life is not stable. You always like this. And you don't have a perfect time. You sometimes miss that and miss like small your kid's birthday. Sometimes you miss your family occasions. But back end, I was committed with some commitment which I have to deliver and have a forecast. Do you agree with the same thing that life is have to be like?
Yeah, I don't think it's life's not easy, is it? It's always a challenge. I don't think you can be good at everything. I think you need to pick a few things that you really focus is really important. When we have build real estate teams, we have people who are focused on certain areas. You know, if you want to try and be good at all things, you'll probably end up being, you know, a master of none, as they say. You know, jack of all trades,
Always.
master of none.
So
So I think you do need to focus. I think they're probably the same with life. You can pick a few things you can be really good at. It's really hard to life balance is something that people always talk about. Oh, what's your balance like? And I think maybe it's in some of those cases, um, people struggle to be good at any of them because they're just being mediocre at you know, at everything. I think actually sometimes you need to focus and say, well, okay, I'm building a business, so I'm going to build a business really hard. And unfortunately, some other things get left at the side. But then you can then maybe pivot that in the future and say, actually, do you know what? This needs my love and attention now, and I'm going to give 100% to that, as opposed to being average at everything.
totally agree. Totally agree. So we just remember this is the number one show when it's come to self-learning, self-growth. It's a homegrown channel from GCC. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we're coming with more exciting guests and more exciting people who gonna try to pivot your perspective of your life. Looking forward to the next episode. Thank you. Stay blessed. Stay keep growing. Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for being.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.